Boy, the industry is full of lies. We all know that. But we watch it and we still stay focused because we're entertained by they bull snot. Now, going through the motions here, we've all watched how other things played out. We watched how other people, in response to what we were going through in life and hip hop, and people striving to make it, and we got to get to this level. This is what it's about. We wanted to get to the understanding that we knew what was going on in the world. And you see, Eminem and Snoop Dogg, they had to figure this out a whole nother way. I heard Snoop now, he keep talking about Dre was my guy. Dre was my man. See, this wasn't the case back then. See, the main problem was this. All day is when Eminem found out what Jay-Z had to find out, what Nas had to find out, what, what Snoop Dogg had to find out. See, they all believe Dr. Dre is their friend. 50 Cent figured it out early. But the rest of these people don't understand because they're not used to it. Dr. Dre was like one of they boys. You know, you think because you sign with people, and it's only in hip hop that this exists. If they sign you to their label, they part of your crew. So your beefs is they beefs. They fight with you. The record labels, they don't move like that. The record labels be like, we're executives. we move like executives move. We'll file some motions. We ain't finna get in motion. Where they do that at? So now, all of a sudden, you got Eminem who comes out of nowhere and did what he did, but people forget what happened prior to that. When Dr. Dre negotiated to leave D.R.E, he gave up the money. He gave up all the money. Claimed to have wanted no parts of any type of like royalties, publishing, anything. Gave all of it up to shit to get himself out of the company. He just wanted to start over fresh. There was a lot going on he wasn't with. And he wanted to start over fresh. So this was the best way for him to do it. Was to start anew. So naturally, everybody was like, cool. He don't want no money. We ain't got no problem with nobody not wanting any money. We'll take it. So Dr. Dre was out, but y'all didn't realize what the company had to actually do. Because it was so much going on at the time. Snoop was still on the label. So everybody was looking around like, all right, he gone. Corrupt was already finna be out. Because after his fight with Pac, and his talking about going over there with Foxy Brown and going back to the East Coast, he was finna be out. D.R.E had Pac. They good. So now, to protect themselves from future investments and future royalty situations, they changed and rebranded themselves. Death Row Records was now called the New and Untouchable Death Row Records. They rebranded. So when they rebranded under the New and Untouchable Death Row Records, there was gonna be no connections with the other Death Row. For Dr. Dre and everything else, it'd be a whole red tape, whole nother other thing they're gonna have to get through. Now, this led to a lot of confusion on what people thought they were owed and what they could actually get. Now, here's the gist of what was happening. Dr. Dre can have no success. This is Suge's thinking. And this is a business, just like anyone else would do in business. Everybody look at Suge as the bad guy for this, but this is what happens in business practices all the time for people who are not Suge Knight. This is what these guys do. Other companies make sure you can't rise back up. Because if you rise back up, it will take away from them. Even if they buy you out and let you go somewhere else, you can never rise up to that power. So they do it all they can to sabotage you and keep you down till maybe one day you come right back with your tail in between your legs because you failed. But you always got a home here. So Suge was never trying to take Dre out. For some of you who keep believing that, like, he was trying to take him out. He was never trying to take Dr. Dre out. He was trying to take his business out. This new venture he had, Aftermath Records, that can't stand. Because if the Aftermath was able to stand, we can't have no you doing well and I'm doing well. That's not going to happen. Because now you're taking away from us. Now people say, well, I can go to Aftermath. I don't have to go to Death Row. That can't stand. So from a business perspective, he's thinking that has to end. Now, the methods that were used, hey, that wasn't business practices. I'm just going to say, that wasn't. But Snoop and Dre was, that was the combination. There was the group. And when he left, he hadn't talked to Snoop. He wasn't there for Snoop's trial. Dr. Dre was nowhere to be found. When Snoop was going through his trial, Dre wasn't there. He was working at the studio and basically parting ways with the label. Enter all the drama. Because once all of this hit the fan, there was no more like we all together, like some we are the world thing. This was different. Snoop was like, okay, Dre shook the spot. Dre just up and left. Snoop called, number, no answer. Dre had left his house, packed up all this stuff. He was gone. He abandoned Michelle A. He abandoned everybody. His artists he brought over there. Sam Snead was there because of Dre. They was like, where's Dre? He cut them all off. Nobody knew where Dre was. Except for one person, the girl he used to date and was dating at that time. She knew where Dre was. And Jimmy Iovine could not hide Dr. Dre in his place. They were looking for Dre all through Cali. People want to know and have eyes and ears on what he was doing, how he was moving. They had all this attention on Dre. Nobody was focused on the why. And the why was quite simple. They had this focus on Dre because they wanted everybody to know what Dre was doing so they could shut it down. Anytime he was doing anything, it was going to be shut down. That was the goal. So it became a marathon. Snoop was out by himself now. He was on his own. So he was on death row, basically isolated without Dre. He got an album work with. Daz is doing all the production. Well, it really don't change anything because Dre really did too much work with Snoop anyway. But Dre's working on his debut come out album. So everybody who was an artist on that album was facing interrogation, being bullied, the whole nine. Now, Dr. Dre was gone mostly East Coast. He signed Eve to a deal. He had a lot of stuff on the table. So now, when all of this is coming to the forefront, Dr. Dre and his label mates or whatever, he was working with Nas. And they brought him in to work on the Firm. If you look at the Firm album, I swear there's so many record labels that's attached to the Firm that by the time the artist got any money from it, it wasn't even gonna be worth it. That album would have to sell about 5 million records in order for it to be a profit. So, well, I can tell you flat out, that was the intention all along. See, the intention is to deceive. Nas and all those guys got their money up front. Nas got his money. He got the bag up front for the project. Steve Stout and them, they took their money. They got everybody who was all jumping on board for the Firm project. Nas and them got their money and they was out. Nas did about 3 verses on the album completely. He did probably about 3, maybe 4 verses, period, and for the whole album, and took the majority of the money. So the album would have to turn over a profit. The Firm Biz single came out, and that was the commercial song. But Phone Tap didn't come out until later. And that was the song everybody really liked. It was grimy. It reminded them, yeah, I like this. Phone Tap. So Phone Tap should have been the street single on the back of Firm Biz. But that screwed up. And that wasn't, like, Dr. Dre came in at the end of all that. Like, he's in the video of, I believe, Phone Tap. He comes in at the end. You see Dr. Dre come in with a champagne glass or something. They only show him from like the top of his head. So once they saw, oh, he went to the East Coast. And he been dealing with them. Because Nas was supposed to be, his main artist. So when he was working with Nas the whole time, Dr. Dre was supposed to record, and that was going to be his new artist, was Nas. And when he had Nas on the album and Dre on there, and the name Dre's song was going to be the title for the album, Nas is Coming. So he was thinking Dre finna be there, and we finna get this project kicking off on Aftermath, and we gonna have the Firm jump off, and we gonna have this whole label set up. We gonna do our own thing, put out artists. It's gonna be Nas and Dre. And Dre flipped the script, broke it out on Nas. Once Tupac died and passed away, there was no need for Dr. Dre to be focused on Nas anymore. Nas was his guy. Then Pac died. He was like, all right, I'm out. So that was his whole thing, because he kind of broke out after the Firm didn't do what it was supposed to do. He just like, all right, this ain't working. I'm out. Then his own project would have been there, done that, didn't work. So he broke it out over there. So he was on his last gas. The label didn't have any money anymore. They were borrowed out. Eminem had already had this project basically done already. So the album is done. Sounds familiar? So they had to go work on songs like, "Hi, my name is what? Slim Shady." So this is how Slim Shady came into being. Yeah. So when Eminem came in there, the story they told you is so much BS, but we ain't finna go into the where Shady came from and how he got the tape and all that. We've heard it in different variations. One version is the truth, the other one is some airbrush bull. So anyway, they get this project. The label does not want to sign a white rapper. They was like, we don't have any money as it is. And you want us to bank everything on this white rapper? The white rapper guy is not the one. And they was like, trust me, man, this white rapper, he the one. They was like, look, man, we're having a hard time here dealing with the white rapper situation. So you want us to deal with this white rapper? And they was like, yeah, deal with the white rapper. And when you deal with the white rapper, trust me, it's gonna work. They heard the tape. They did not doubt Eminem couldn't rap. That wasn't the question. The question is, could he sell records? And they said, we're gonna put him with Dre. It's gonna work. So when My Name Is came out as a single, and they was able to push it through Interscope, it took off. Once he started off with, "Hi kids, you like Primus?" And next thing you know, from that point on, it was over. All he had to say was, "Hi kids." "Hi kids, you like Primus?" And they was like, "Wow, I love this guy. Eminem, he rocks." Now you got the Suburbanites. And then when it got to the other songs, then people who really rap be like, "Oh, okay, this dude can really rhyme." So then his freestyle tapes take off, and the rest is history. Now you got the Eminem craze. So now that the Eminem craze is in full swing, what happens next? It's quite clear. They decide, okay, we got this Eminem craze going on. Now that we got an Eminem craze that's popping and everybody's jumping up and down, dancing, we got the craze going. You know what we need next? Momentum. We need radio. We got MTV. We got all these things that other people couldn't get. Suge Knight is spiraling. Death Row now without Tupac, everybody is it's free for all. It's like, oh, we got Snoop Dogg though. Snoop gonna dig us out. Snoop album didn't dig him out. So now it's like, okay, now we spiraling. So we can't let Dre have success. So now Eminem is in the mix. Now Jimmy Iovine is getting money from both labels. Interscope has a distribution deal with Death Row, and Interscope has a deal with Dr. Dre's label, Aftermath. So everything goes on to Jimmy. And where was Dr. Dre hiding? At Clive Davis' house. The place they thought they never would find Dre. He was living out still in Cali at the time at one of Clive Davis's homes. That's where he set up shop, and Dre barely came outside for anything. So it became very evident that this was going to be a growing problem. Eminem was at the award shows. Suge Knight is definitely showing up at the award shows. And some of his guys are showing up at the award shows. Now, during this time of Eminem, Snoop Dogg left. Once Suge was arrested and locked up, they had to negotiate to let Snoop out his deal. Snoop wanted to leave. So all his old publishings, once again, had to go back to D.R.E. And Master P and, everybody from No Limit was securing his operation. Suge had a lot of power on the streets, but people were starting to move to Cali, like Master P and everybody else. And he was like, man, ain't no room. Puffy already out here. Everybody trying to move to Cali. It ain't room for everybody out here. And of course, he like, what that mean? Master P wasn't going for that. So he was just like, man, I'm saying, man, this ain't room for everybody out here, man. I'm just letting it be known that ain't room. So Suge was locked up, still trying to conduct business from behind bars. Now, when Suge comes home, he was basically letting Snoop know, look, you still work for the row. Now, when Snoop left, Dre didn't come back and say, let me go get Snoop. Dre was still trying to battle and protect his artist, but not protect his artist. He's got Eminem, but he don't know how to protect Eminem at all. Dr. Dre is the worst at protecting somebody. He just leave him out to dry. Snoop Dogg was hung out to dry. So was Eminem. So was Nas. So was everybody who came out there. Jay-Z, when he got with Dre, it was never a situation where Dre was looking out for the people around him. It was horrible. I saw it and I said, man, is this what it is? Is this what it is? Because it doesn't make any sense here. I watch things play out, then I react. So when I was watching, is I'm seeing a person who has no idea of what they're doing involved in the situation they shouldn't be in. Eminem figured that out when he had the award show, and he's like, man, he got like one bodyguard. He's like, man, where's the aftermath security? He's like, we out here recording records and somebody from D.R.E. is out here, and he was, let me call Jimmy. That's all Dre was saying. It's called Jimmy. So guys was out there unprotected, walking around. Now these guys was trying to intimidate Eminem. They didn't touch him because that's Jimmy's money. Jimmy said, if anything happens to Eminem, to Suge, and if he bumps his head, if he mysteriously falls ill, he's like, you gotta protect that kid like he is the next coming of the holy man. So he gave those instructions to Suge. You better protect Eminem. Because he did so many attacks. The Hawaii incident, they're in Hawaii. Suge loads up a plane, flies to Hawaii, all these thugs. And they're at the hotel trying to find out, where they at in Hawaii and trying to get them. Well, they had a show out there. So this was an ongoing situation. Like all night, security is sitting up there. They don't know when the death row dudes coming, if they showing up, and they didn't have a lot of security. Not if they wanted to do something. So the artist was, paranoid. Eminem had a gun on him at all times. And he was like, this is crazy. So Eminem's bodyguard quit while he was out in Cali and broke it out and left Eminem out there. Because he was like, man, they threatening my life. And I'm like, you a bodyguard. That's your job. Like, what the hell you mean they threatening your life? Of course. You're the bodyguard. You the one supposed to jump in front of the bullet. And then Eminem had just paid him a whole bunch of money. So I'm like, you just got paid a bunch of money. So what the hell are you talking about? And he didn't realize that even though the check had cleared, and he was like, that's my previous work. You owe me that money from my previous work. That ain't how Eminem saw it. Eminem saw it as, you ain't doing your job. I can go take that money out your account anytime I want. And when you got power, you can get that done. Ain't no, oh, the money's cleared. They got a certain time period they can come back and get that money. They could file a protest, and guess what? Your money is as good as gone. Yep. And that's what happened. Good as gone. Now, after getting these threats, Dr. Dre did nothing. Dre was caring about him and him only. Dr. Dre did not protect. Anytime somebody came to him about protection, Dr. Dre let him know, I'm out. When Jay-Z got ran up on and got pressured, and they applied the pressure to him, and he got booked because he thought, man, I'm with Dre. Dre ain't had no power like that. And he got reminded, Dre ain't got that kind of pull. Dre was like, hey, man, I thought you did like I did. Hey, I got out. He was like, I'm in a hotel room thinking I'm good because I'm with Dre. That was the last time you seen Jay-Z with Dr. Dre during that time. Him and Dre were done for a long time. As far as hanging together, that was out. Jay wasn't moving like that no more. Drake was, I thought you had your own guys. He was like, nah, man, I was with you. You left me out there. Still was coming in my hotel room. So, once again, it always leads to that situation. Oh, man. Dr. Dre never had any intentions of helping nobody but Dre. It's Dre Day and everybody else just celebrating. Like I told you, Dr. Dre has intentionally done this his entire career. Period. That's it. He has never stuck his neck out since he's been gone from death row. Now, Dre was crazy and did crazy stuff all while before he got on the label. Dre would drink, he'd get in car accidents, get on high-speed chases with the police. He did a whole bunch of dumb stuff. Then he had to stop drinking because he blamed the alcohol. But realistically, what the whole world saw was pretty disturbing. Everyone in the free world has what they call an opinion. But Dr. Dre, once he changed and once he went and left Death Row, everybody was on their own. Don't come to Dre talking about, hey man, I thought you had my back. Hey man, you ain't do this for me. Hey bro, what's going on? Dre ain't trying to hear any of it. Nothing, nada, zilch. Dre is about Dr. Dre. That's it. That's what I'm saying. Eminem found out a long time ago. That's why he moved the way he moved now. M don't move like that. Him and Dre are cool, but that ain't his boy. That Dre ain't gonna be in the trenches with him. The only person, that's why he is so close to 50 Cent. 50 knew right away Dre wasn't moving like that with him. That time they keep telling these stories about what happened with Fifth and all that, and the whole thing, they exaggerate and make this whole story up. Like Eminem was not there when Suge showed up. Suge had came and left. 50 Cent didn't see him, and Eminem wasn't there. Suge came there with his intimidation thing. He came over there on the set just to try to let him know he could do what he want. He came with a bunch of Mexican essays with tattoos on their face and everything. And he was just there smoking his stogie, standing around on the set to try to show I could do what I want to do. So that was his thing, intimidation. Now, as for everything else, this is why 50 and Eminem are close. Because those two are not only artists, they rolled out for each other. G Unit was looking out for Eminem. When he had a problem with Death Row or anybody else, they had each other back. D12, all them dudes, everybody had their pistols. They were back to back. Dre's on a whole nother bus. They doing the Up in Smoke tour. Dr. Dre is moving entirely different than everybody else. Well, you have to understand that there are a lot of problems that ensued along the way. And when you start thinking about the details of how they did certain things and how things moved, it was quite interesting. They don't trust Dre, man. That's why I keep trying to tell you all this is lies. When he keep talking about Snoop, and his brother, and Dre never had his back. Snoop had to go and be with the East Siders and all them dudes till they got into it with Snoop. And he's like, man, Master P showed me the business. So I can stay up and do all this and move around and do that. He's like, he taught me how to do it and run my own label. So he gave credit to Master P for being the guy to keep him moving. So yeah, that was it. I never saw anybody do the things that Dr. Dre was doing at that time. He wanted to just focus on the music and do all that, and that was cool. I saw that, and I was all cool with it. Well, people got to understand, like you dealing with something that's out of your hands, out of your concern. You know, it's like, what are you talking about, actually? Dr. Dre and Snoop, you know, that's what I'm saying. They all know what Dre is now. Like, Dre is not somebody you gonna want to depend on at that moment in time. You know, you get the hell up out of there. You don't sit there and deal with him. Okay, there we go. So 50 Cent knew not to trust Dr. Dre. He knew like Eminem's my guy. You know what I'm saying? Like M's gonna fight for me no matter what. Dre ain't gonna do that. So they just have understanding. You know, like, well, you know, it's like that. You know, it's like something people always wanted to do. Yeah, it was in the club video shoot. And he told Dre, he said, Dre, you know, like, what the hell? You know, like what the hell, Dre? You ain't got our back. And you see, they got the game, and the game was already there. So the game was like part-time protection, and that's why Dre was just keeping him on there. Like, yeah, he could rap and all that, but I don't know if he ever gonna sell any records. But they were the security for Dr. Dre. All his guys he had on Brazil and Wilmington and all those dudes, they was just basically protecting Dre. Dre came to the block. That was all they needed. You know, when you bring a lot of revenue in, you get to make some decisions. But this is why 50 Cent, who outsold Eminem with the largest debuting album, this is why he never was able to write any rules. He was under Eminem and Dr. Dre. But M and Dre, they were always gonna be tight because he knew this dude will have my back. He gonna protect me when I'm out here. We gonna look out for each other. M was gonna make sure he was straight. That was his obsession, was to make sure Eminem was good. And they had each other's back. Snoop knew I couldn't trust Dre. After he was getting beat up, Dre just left him. He had to go to the East Siders and all that. Dre letting them all know, look, I make records. That's what I do. I'm a producer. I ain't got no time for that. So he ain't gonna be involved in none of your dramas. So you just gotta understand what Dre is and what he's about. Dre is not finna have your back on that. He'll make you a song, he'll produce a beat. That's about it. Don't expect Dr. Dre to have your back or your protection. You better have your own. So they realize that, but they don't talk about that. So anyway, I'm out. Love, peace, and hair grease. Shouts out to Kwame Brown, Bus Life, Mondo Black TV, Ticket TV, Dreamers Pro. Welcome to HD TV with the 2 eyes. HD is back. I was wondering what happened to him, but he back. Seahawks, Jose Rodriguez, and I'm out.